Sorry, I forgot to give you a little rundown right up.
Wow.
I think that acid I took back in the 60s just kicked in.
It sounded like it.
Hey, how's it going? I forgot that the timer was, the audio on the timer was on, so that beep, beep, beep scared the crap out of me. Hey, welcome to the Live AV Tech Podcast. My name is Mickey. We're going to have a lot of fun. Some of you who have seen this before may notice that there's not a wall behind me anymore. It's drape, but it's not. I am utilizing green screen technology. Here, look. Here's a different one. Let's see. Oop, I hit the wrong button. Do you guys like the drape or the wood better? I'm gonna stick with the wood. I know this is pretty cheesy, but I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So please just bear with me for a minute. Today in Corona news, coronavirus floats around in blue liquid. Okay, that's it. No laugh track on this thing. Okay. So, a little update from the last show, whatever day that was, Thursday. The reason why we lost audio from the call when you guys didn't was a slight problem with the way that I was encoding the stream. If you encode the stream, anybody who's using Wirecast, listen in. If you're encoding the stream in an X264, that uses the CPU to process it. But if you use Apple H.264, it's the GPU that does the processing, so it takes my system CPU usage a lot lower. Right now we're at 78, which is still bad. That's not good, and we've dropped some frames, so who knows what's going on with that. Anyway, let me go ahead and introduce the panel now. Bring these guys in. Oh, keep hitting the wrong button. Howdy, panel. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Hello.
Today in the panel we've got
We're good.
Mr. Eddie Welsh. He's a business owner. He owns Eclipse Productions here in the Dallas area. Say hello, Ed.
Hello, Ed.
And below him we have an icon in the Dallas area AV business, Mr. Alton Kegel.
I'm an icon.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. You're the grandfather of AV.
I've been called Uncle Alton a lot, but
Uncle
never.
Alton.
Yeah, most of the editors that I've trained call me Uncle Alton.
Oh, okay. I keep hitting the wrong button. I'm just going to make us full. There we go.
the Wednesday night Bible study lesson, and we shoot the pastoral update. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we shoot the traditional choir, which we have put the traditional choir out in the sanctuary, spread apart more than 6 feet. But we have about 60 people in our choir. We shoot those 4-camera ISO, and then I get to, using my Final Cut Pro, put all of this stuff together, upload it. We premiere it on YouTube and on Facebook so that we don't have to be there to run these things live. So we get it all premiered during the week, but it takes me Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, sometimes Thursday morning, working at the church. And I also went through and produced a 48-minute pastoral gospel concert, because we have 5 pastors that are music or a pastor, associate pastor, that are extremely good singers. So if you're out there and you want some really good gospel music, go to YouTube and look up The Worship Place, Georgetown, Texas, and you can see the title of our concert is "A Few Good Men," and it's there for everybody. So enjoy.
And how about you, Ed? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy in this crazy? Well, I know you've been repairing a house and just doing all kinds of honeydews.
A lot of that, yeah, a lot of honeydews. Working with on our round pen, trying to get that fixed up for the horses, and working on their barn and the tack room, and just trying to, learn stuff and do things.
All right.
Take the opportunity of the time to, try to learn something.
Yep. Good.
All right. I'm going to go back to me. Hi, everybody. So our guest today is Mr. Rick McGill. He's a brilliant video engineer, does some very cool gigs. He's also the inventor and madman behind the missing link conversion products that everybody likes so much. If you look over there on the discussion, there's a link to his website where you can drool over all the cool stuff he's got going there. Let me go ahead and bring him into the mix here. Rick, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now I'm hearing all kinds of echo because of the way I've got this going. So how tell me, you're 15 years old and you're starting out in the business, and you just kind of get thrown into it, right?
Pretty much. My brother worked at the Point South Mountain in audiovisual, and he asked me to come help out for the day. And here I am a little over 30 years later.
So what did you think when you started doing that? I mean, how did this get stuck into you so deep?
At the time, it was like $8 an hour, so I was blown away on how much money you could make an hour setting up flip charts and overheads and taping down power cords. So I think in the beginning, it was the money that drove it, because I was so young, but also the group of people that I worked with. It was like you develop a family really quick, and I think that's what kept me around for so long.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. I'm fighting a little echo in my ears. I'm gonna switch you out here. So, were you always a video guy? What did you start out doing?
Pretty much. I gravitated towards computers early when I was working at the Point South Mountain, interfacing computers back in the early days. So I naturally drove that direction with 1032 cues and slide projectors, and pretty much stayed in video the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have been fortunate enough to run a Mackie 32 channel board with like 18 table mics and in a little 50-foot by 50-foot boardroom. So I've done that before, but
most things we do for money.
Exactly. Mostly it's always been video.
Yeah. And coming up in the Arizona market, there's a lot of good video guys there. A lot of guys doing high pixel count stuff.
Yeah, some of my mentors like Michael Saperton and Richard St. Sever and John St. and some of the AVPS guys. Like, there's LMG was here for a long time. AV Concepts, a lot of amazing talent that came out of Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't hurt that Christie does their training there.
Right.
So you're going along, and you've got an issue with getting what you want out of converting from HDMI and DVI to SDI and all this kind of what kind of threw you into the concept of, I'm just going to make my own?
Well, at the time, I felt like there wasn't very good products. So I wanted something that didn't do any kind of scan converting, any kind of conversion, other than converting it from HDMI to SDI. And I wanted to get away from DVI because I was so sick of, bent pins and busted ports, and certain dongles didn't work, and pretty much every computer had an HDMI port, or you could easily adapt it to HDMI for the most part. And I was just tired of DVI mainly.
I was always having fun with the HDMI to DVI connector that would make it to where you couldn't plug in couldn't get to the USB port, or that one
right.
hard big fat thing, and that was never any fun.
It's a pain in the butt. Even with the early Macs that had a DVI port on it, it's still like, you could only be so far unless you had fiber optic, which not everyone would carry that, and then you could only run a certain signal quality or resolution because the cable couldn't support anything higher. Did you have your dual link DVI adapters or active or all these elements? It was just so painful. And all you did was you just wanted to get that one computer from the stage or from backstage into the system.
Yeah, exactly. So you had the idea to do it. You had the concept that you wanted to do it, but how does that process work? What takes you from, gee, I want to do this, to, hey, I just did this?
So some of the things that were going on, it was just like I wanted to come up with a solution that eliminated the problems that we were having with plugging in certain Macs with certain OSs into our system. So I found a really good vendor that would work with me on using the chipsets that I wanted, and I could, pay for the design work and create the product. And so once I found that and I was ready to pull the trigger, I invited my friend John Collada in on the adventure, and together the both of us started Missing Link, and it kind of took off. Like, it was a good time, and it was a good product for the market at the time. So it was good. It was definitely it was difficult, and it's still difficult to this day. I wish I could do the design work in house and not have to go overseas. But unfortunately, I'm not at that state yet. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of late hours. Like I mean, my wife will tell you I've spent, you know, many, many, many nights like working overnight, you know, talking to engineers in the other side of the country, the other side of the world. So it was quite the adventure. A lot of dedication.
And that whole time you're still doing gigs, and you're still
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of these calls from the backstage and ballrooms, right?
definitely. Like or in my hotel room from, 10 p.m. till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. just working with, uh, you know, working with Taiwan and and then getting up at 6 a.m. and going to work. So it was difficult. Definitely took a lot of late hours. It slowed down a lot for me as far as design work. I'm still working on some stuff, but not as hard as I used to. I feel like there's some stuff I need to get out there, but just with everything that's going on now, I just got to put everything on hold.
Yeah, yeah. So in that realm, what do you think's next? We're pretty inundated with lots of little switchers. The PDS 4K just came out. What do you think is on the horizon in that world?
Well, I'm kind of blown away by that new switcher that Panasonic's coming out with. I can't even remember the name of it, but it looks pretty powerful and pretty. I guess they're not coming out with it; it's already out. It's doing events. It does a lot of esports stuff, and got this one production switcher that can now control or output to your LED walls and do mapping and projection blends. You have to blend in the projector, but you can make maps that allow you to blend. So, and there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of new stuff that's going to come out, and it's going to open up the world to our industry, and not maybe not so much be the Barco or the Christie that's driving the screens, but it might be a Panasonic that's driving your LED wall now, or who knows, maybe Blackmagic will jump on this bandwagon too, and yeah, and you'll have that issue. But
that issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a big fan of like high-end equipment. Like I love 4A and Panasonic, not as much as like Grass, but I like professional equipment over some other stuff that's out there. But we'll see what happens, and I say things will change in the next 2 or 3 years. I think there's going to be other large-scale switching systems.
Yeah. There's funky stuff coming out. I'm trying to remember the HRS sells it, but it's a scaling router. 16 in.
Yeah, I saw that.
16 in, and
I got to get some more info on it. It looks pretty interesting with multi-viewing built in, and
Yep.
yeah. What's its that?
It starts with a D.
I'll look it up because I kind of want to plug it.
Okay, here we are. We're geeking out. So this is kind of a thing with you, right? You are one of the most check it out and play with it guy I know. You've got a room full of gear that you got just so you could take it apart, right?
Yeah, that's probably one of my biggest mistakes that I've made is like I buy a lot of stuff, like just ones and twos, but just to like open it up, tear it apart, and then like it'll just sit. So it's thankfully it's not like buying a 16 by 16 DVI router and letting that sit, but like little stuff, like little throwdown boxes, and if somebody has a problem with a missing link product that it's not working with a certain camera, I've gone out and bought that camera and set it up and walked them through the process of how to make that function. And I still have the camera sitting in a box somewhere over there. Instead of just renting it, I've done a lot of stupid stuff like that. But
the wife hasn't made you contact the eBay people yet, huh?
No, but she's a little upset with me today because I've had an E2 Gen 2 sitting in the dining room on a fold-up table for the last 2 months, and she sent me a text like, there's 2 computers over there. There's 4 monitors. The pool table's covered with boxes. Like, it's just, she said I have to clean it up. So, and the den is just like overwhelming. I've been helping my buddy Rudy with a project that he's got going, redesigning a structure for his webcast camera package. And so I've got like 6mm screws like everywhere, and aluminum extrusion that we had cut, and it's been madness for the last week. And so I think my wife's going to probably kick me out eventually.
If you're going to live in a warehouse, it's this one thing.
Right. Well, that's the problem. I have like a little 1,100 square foot warehouse, but it's like 30 minutes away, so I can work at home at 9 o'clock at night, where I just don't want to go to the warehouse and work at 9 o'clock at night. And I've never used it as a workplace. Like, that has always been storage. I keep all my missing link products there, and then also all my rental equipment.
Yeah.
And I back the box truck inside of it, and it has like
that's handy.
Yeah, that's great. It has this little office space in the front, and then like a little warehouse in the back that the box truck fits in. I got enough for a couple of racks, and so it's not something that I like to hang out. Like, I can hang out in my den all day or in the living room all night, playing with the E2, but it's not working out so much for my wife.
So, what's your future look like, Rick? What's rolling around in there? What advice can you give us for the future? When we come out of this thing, what do we need to be able to do?
I'm a firm believer that our economy has to get back to normal very soon. There's so many industries that drive off of corporate travel and corporate meetings that like millions of people will suffer if we don't get back to normal, right?
Right.
Airlines, hotels. So I'm very optimistic. I feel like things hopefully will have a stronger fourth quarter, and I believe by January things will be back to normal. That's my thought process. I hope that's true, because I don't know how much longer I can stay, surviving without an economy. I was talking to my wife. It's like the only thing that I know is this industry. I've only done video. Like, I guess I could go get a job at Home Depot. Nothing wrong with that, but that would be like I might be able to help somebody construct something. I just don't know what other fields or what other kind of work I can go into and generate the kind of revenue that I do, other than, AV. So.
Yeah, I definitely have some Walmart warehouse nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. It's like getting to that point where I got to do something soon. I haven't worked. I haven't worked since March 3rd. So that was the last show that I was with Jeff Califas and working that 10Q project, and that was the last thing. So I had a couple.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I had prepped to work hard in the first quarter to pay my taxes for last year, right? Just like any other AV freelancer. So like now, like that whole thing is it's just become a nightmare at this point. It's we got to figure out something, and hopefully something turns soon. But
And to that end, I mean, we got to imagine there's a bunch of our brothers and sisters, AV guys out there that are they're suffering in the same way. I think we're looking at reduced wages and all kinds of stuff when we come back. What are your thoughts on that?
If I think we have to stay strong. We can't come back and expect our pay to be cut in half. You know what I mean? Like, so that a production company or an audiovisual company can reap the benefits of that and rebuild from where they left off, right? So
right.
I think as technicians, we have to stay strong and keep our same day rate. Our value hasn't gone down. It's not going down to the end client. They're always going to charge what they have been. They're never going to decrease the cost of that. So as technicians, we have to stick together, and I won't work for less. And if you want to pay less, then go find less. You know what I mean? You have the option to hire whoever you want, and that's the good thing and the benefit of having your own company. So if you want to pay less, get less. Rhino's got some great guys. They'll be more than happy to run your E2.
Yeah. I always thought that an E2 guy should be completely covered in tattoos. So
right.
It's probably a good thing. So I think I'm going to bring the panel in, and let me see. I'm going to push this button here, and then we're going to come in like this. So in this setup, they can't see you. I can't port you to the Zoom meeting at the way I've got this set up now. But guys, what questions do you have for Rick?
I can't hear him. Sorry.
You can't hear him?
No.
I'm doing it wrong again. Hold on. Yeah, I had pulled them out. Okay, now you can hear them. I'm sorry, Ed. Start over again. You can't hear him now?
Nothing.
Oh, you know what? I'm doing it wrong again. I had the wrong one up. Okay, now you can hear him. Audio.
Got it.
Audio starts with an A.
I know.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I have a question or two that's less, maybe not business, but I wanted to chime in on what Rick was just saying about the, economy and business coming back and our rates and stuff. Because I think that's a spot on assessment in that there are so many other businesses that coexist with us or use our types of services in order to make their things work. Obviously, with the air travel, you've got passenger or vacation travel outside of business travel, but there's that. The hotels, if people are going to do meetings at all, they're going to need us, and I'm with Rick's assessment in that I hope it comes back quick. I'm pretty confident. I'm feeling pretty confident that it will once it really starts rolling. Been hearing talk of some small meetings maybe coming back as soon as August or September, but we'll see. And also, I completely agree that I don't know why our rates should change. I've been hearing people talking about that just in general. Other AV folks are like, oh, well, when we get back to work, everybody better be ready to work cheap and go win for less, and they're not going to pay. And I'm thinking just like what you just said, Rick. It's like, well, why not? our work ethic, our abilities haven't changed. They're going to be doing the same jobs. If they try to cut on crew personnel, we may even be, multitasking or wearing a couple of hats where we maybe on a really big show we were overstaffed or something. So I don't. I'm with you on the sticking together. And why would we want to modify our rate just because something happened to shake up everything? And if we do, it's going to set a bad precedent, because then people will start expecting it, and then everybody will take a rate hit.
Yeah, top to bottom.
Yeah. There's one thing I always say, that I have enough experience now that I don't need practice. I show up on a show, and I'm going to make sure that I bring many years of experience to that show. And with my broad background, I think I have an increased value in working with clients as far as what do we need to do shows. What kind of equipment do we need? What kind of a package do we need? I mean, there's ways we can save money, but I'm hearing right now still a lot of virtual meetings, and I've had people call me and say, we need you to help us with these virtual meetings. You're a broadcast director. You understand this stuff. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. But I did have 2 shows that didn't cancel, but they're looking in the October, November area for rescheduling. So I think that's a good positive if you get people just to reschedule. Now I've got a couple annual meetings that they're gone until 2021. But they already have dates for those. We already have the dates for those. But it's like these companies that you work with, these large sales forces. They gotta see the people. They gotta talk to them face to face. They gotta keep them up, to keep the sales going.
That hand grab means a lot.
Yeah. They want that interaction, that personal interaction.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is go back and do shows and have failures. Right? Like, you don't want to see you up on stage and having that mic feeding back, or losing video, or taking the wrong view, or, like, the importance is having high standard shows that we've had in the past.
Right.
Yeah,
well, I can't see.
Go ahead.
I can't see that a company that was spending a large amount of money on a big show, all of a sudden coming back and saying, okay, our budget's only going to be 10,000. What can we do with 10,000? I don't see that happening, but because I think they understand, the companies that are doing the large shows understand what it takes to do that. I had a client tell me one time, hey, everybody has a TV. They're sitting there all the time. They're watching network television. We have to put on a product that looks like that, or they're going to think that we are just cheaping it out,
But there's also a lot of budgets that have been cut. I mean, there's every company out there's kind of sitting in the red, except for Zoom
or pharmaceutical. They seem to be doing good.
Pharmaceutical.
Yeah. And the liquor companies are doing really well right
Liquor's doing good.
Liquor's doing good. Whether they're not making liquor, they're making sanitizing wash.
Yeah,
that's right.
I can't even buy IPA. Like, it's so expensive right now. I got like a little bit left.
It's ridiculous. So Ed, you've wanted to dabble in getting things manufactured and inventing stuff. You have any questions in terms of how to get there, what the process is like? I guess he doesn't.
I hadn't really No, I hadn't thought of that too much. I mean, I've had a lot of ideas for things, shall we say, and
So, Rick, how does one take an idea and shuffle it down to, well, how did you take an idea and shuffle it down to what you should do and what you shouldn't do, what you think's going to work?
I just tried to look at, like, logically, how would I design this and how would I want this to function, right? Through like as far as like the way the box lays out. I have most of my stuff except for my ML200. My inputs are on the front side and my outputs are on the back side, right? Because everything I always thought of was based off of a COVID Easy Pix or an Extron, interface of, front side was your input and the back side went down to the floor. So I just thought of like logically, how would I want something to sit on the table? That whole process. And then as far as like getting into the chipsets and stuff, I researched that, like, by buying stuff and tearing it apart to find out, getting a better understanding of how things work, right? You have these ICs, then you have an MCU, a master control unit, that turns on and off functionalities of these ICs. And so like getting the general logic, even though I can't like draw anything up or, any kind of board design or any of that kind of stuff, or schematic for that matter. But I have a good understanding of how chipsets work and, functionality of like how the circuitry works. And I've always had like kind of that, I could pick stuff up really easily, like when it comes to that kind of stuff. I kind of get a little obsessive and do a lot of research.
Did you build the first prototype or whatever yourself, like when you had this idea for this box?
No.
Did you
I went right to manufacturing.
tinker it together, or?
I went right to a manufacturer and had them design and create the board, and then they send it to me for testing. And then we worked on firmware and hardware revisions, and probably three boards later, we had the first product.
How did you how would you say, I guess, protect your idea? When you go to a manufacturer and you're saying like, hey guys, I got this great idea for this box and it's going to do this thing. And, how did you know they weren't going to say, well, thanks for coming in, Rick. Don't think we can use it, or we'll think about it, or whatever. And then as soon as you leave out the door, they're out in their engineering team going, guys, we got to build this thing.
Yeah. I think I don't, it's hard for me to say, but there's so many boxes that do the same thing as that I do, that I feel like, in Taiwan, I feel very safe. And with the vendor that we have, like they're amazing. They're good people. And I guess I just trusted them. I mean, there's nothing that you could do really to stop it. Like, other than the shape and the size of something, it may, there's so many products that do the same thing. I don't think anyone has a patent. I don't think Black Magic patents anything. I never even like ventured in to see what patents were, as far as like how I could protect myself. Just because it's like, how do you patent that, right? How do you patent stuff that's already created and made, other than like a design factor, right? Like, but
right. Well, you can modify existing patents and get, your own patent on a tweak, but that's its own process from what I've, little bit of looked into that sort of thing.
At one point when we first started out, somebody tried to steal the name Missing Link and tried to manufacture stuff and sell it with the Missing Link label out of Mexico, which I only saw it like for a brief, like maybe a month. And I sent them an email and they never responded to me, and I never heard from them again. But it was like somebody had basically took my box, like not even my box, it was a different box, but took my logo and put it on their box and tried to sell it. And pretty bizarre.
Interesting.
Yeah. but it disappeared really quick with one email. But I really, I mean, other than, I really haven't had any issues.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like you said, you got to trust the people you're trying to work with. So, if you found a good team, a good vendor, good people to work with, that's probably 90 some odd % of it, I guess.
Yeah, and their engineering ability is unbelievable. Like our signal quality of our ML122 is like probably I think it's probably the best converter out there. Like with low jitter, and I mean it's good stuff. It doesn't fail like some other products you could have plugged in and all of a sudden you route a new signal to it and it fails. And ours doesn't seem to do that. So now technically Missing Link is just me. I bought John Collada out. When was that? Like in October of last year, I think. So, which sucks because he was the best salesman I ever had. We're still friends.
Maybe you need to work something back out with him there.
Yeah, exactly. He still sells. Mm-hmm. He's always like, "Hey, so and so needs this." He's a good guy.
Have you thought about putting the product in the hands of some rep firms?
I've been approached. Like I've always to try to maintain a lower cost. I've always, there's only so much markup that I have, right? So I've always just sold direct. And I think, a bunch of people have emailed me asking if they could be like a rep and sell the stuff, but it's hard for me to set up. How do I offer them the ability to buy 5 boxes and get a discount, and then not offer that to a CT or an LMG that's buying 50 boxes, or 30 boxes.
Exactly.
I've never had anyone else sell for us. It's always just been direct, because then the way that John Collada owns InSync Show Productions, it's an audiovisual company based out of Las Vegas. And when we started the company, he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to get 50 of these for my company." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We'll give you this rate." And at first he was like, "Well, why can't I just buy them for cost?" And it's like, well, it doesn't work that way, because if you buy 50 for cost, then I want to buy 50 for cost, right? And then I'll turn around and sell them for, to somebody else and make the profit, So, we both agreed to that right off the bat, that, we would be fair as far as pricing goes. You had to buy a certain amount to get a discount. And if you didn't get the discount, just to keep it fair for everyone across the board. So that was an important thing for us. But with that being said, we didn't hire a salesperson, and it's probably a direction I need to move to, because that's not my expertise. It would be good for me to bring somebody on board that does sales and can deal with that, and then I can just focus on designing and and working on new product.
So one quick question: when you have a new product that you're thinking about, is your thought process that you want to make a product like an existing product but better, or a product that does something that nobody else does?
Pretty much probably better. I do get a lot of ideas out of boxes, like my ML200. It's a HDMI or VGA as an input. The only reason I put the VGA on was the time frame. We always have prompters, and at the time when I created that box, VGA was always their output, because they always had their DAs, their local monitoring. So I wanted a box that you could just plug into, and the HDMI port. And then I also added 8 channels of audio embedding with a DB25 connector, with the Tascam pinout, or 2 XLRs. So it had the box, like everything was integrated into this box that you didn't have to worry about, I'm going to drop this down for Playback Pro, but now I need a DI box for the audio. And it was just one self-contained box. And I didn't have any buzzes because everything's digital. So everything's line level. So I would try to create stuff like that like meant something for me in our industry. Or, because the go-to box before that simple scaler, like a majority of the time people were throwing down an Image Pro, which is by far the best scaling box out there, but it's $8,000.
Yeah.
And
There's that.
it's crazy expensive versus like my box, which works great, does a lot of functionalities that box doesn't do, like audio de-embedding, and it's under $1,000. It's I just tried to come up with stuff that functioned for what we need in our industry, and of course it works in other stuff, but I've never tapped other markets like installation or anything. It's I built everything based off of the industry that I'm a part of.
Well, yeah, I noticed that right now we're going through something at our church with this pandemic. We've realized that we have to record and edit and play back things, and 90% of all of our equipment at the church was many years old, and we're having to upgrade to different equipment. And what we were running into is you can't marry the old technology with the new technology. They won't go together. We got a small. I'll make Mickey happy here. We bought a small little ADAM switcher.
Right.
And
How does that make me happy?
Mr. Black Magic. But now whatever the output is, the input's got to be, and you're sitting there with little semi-pro cameras, and it does this, but it doesn't do that, and then we're hooked to a Mac doing Pro Presenter. Well, you got to get with that, and it's a huge problem, and you can't afford, like you said, to go out and buy these image converters.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Like, that's one of the downfalls to Blackmagic is not having that ability to do 59.94 or 60. And most of the time when you plug Mac in, you want, like, the Mac is going to say, okay, I'm going to spit out 60, because they took away the ability for us to easily select from the drop-down menu 59.94, right? So now the only ability is whatever Apple tells you it is, unless you buy SwitchRes X and create like that whole thing where you can, get 59.94 and go direct. But but that's SwitchRes X is a very difficult thing to set up. It's not for like the average user to get to function and work. I have a real tough time with Blackmagic, just because of I feel like they've gotten a lot better in their design work, and their equipment is getting much better. But in the early days, they were using low cost FPGAs, which caused extremely high heats, and the equipment would barely last 13 months, right? Maybe 14 months, and the warranty was over in 12, right? So, and they wouldn't fix it, they wouldn't replace it, they wouldn't repair it, and
they made darn good coffee warmers, though.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, you would be shocked how many AV companies have those products just sitting on a shelf, broken, in a repair pile. Like there's nothing you can do, So a lot of their products like bum me out. And I'm a big fan of 4A. So, for not much more, once you buy like a Blackmagic box and you get the controller and the stuff that goes with it, you can buy a 4A box, right? For maybe $1,000 more, and that gives you 59 or 60, and it gives you mixable outputs, and it's just a different beast altogether. But and it's a reliable production switcher that is used worldwide, and so I don't know. Blackmagic is like a little button for me.
I do have a Blackmagic switcher right over here, Alton, and if you'd like to buy it from me, just let me know. Drop me a line.
I got one.
That's our problem at our.
Sorry. What were you saying?
Yeah. That's our problem is that we have 2 campuses, so I have to buy 2 of everything.
Right.
So everything is the same because our media director and myself are the only 2 that have any kind of AV experience. Everybody else is volunteers, and so we're having to train people, and it's too tough to train them on one setup at one campus and have something different at the other one. So we have the same audio console, the same switcher, the same camera. Everything is redundant.
I'm a bit like I say this all the time. Blackmagic is an amazing product for churches. Like it's the perfect church switching package, and that's a great place for it. Like if a church came to me and said, "Hey, what would you put in here?" I would probably sell them on a Blackmagic package. It's the ease of use. Like it's great. It's great for that environment.
Yep.
But if you need any missing links to convert to 5994, give me a call.
And they are literally the best you can buy as far as I'm concerned. So,
yeah. At what point do we get a price break? How many units?
Well, in this economy, I could probably do a good deal. Just call me.
Yeah.
You got the Corona special going. So as long as I can make rent next month, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Good shop.
But he's not going to give you anything specific in case Les is watching right now.
Right. Yeah, they get a lot.
All right. Well, Rick, I really appreciate you doing this. I think it's a good thing for people to find out about people like you and how you can, end up being a success and in a lot of ways, by just being a geek and wanting better stuff. It's a good thing. I do appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you for the invite. I enjoyed it. I got to look this up real quick before.
The router.
The router, because now I want to know.
Yeah, I think it was HRS who was selling it.
Yeah, but was it Drexel or something?
It started with a D or something like that. Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, it's a great router. I'll post something on that thing once we hang up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. On the television program today, we're just gonna sit around and look up stuff that you can't see us look up.
Right.
Very exciting television right there.
That's me. Like whenever I think of something, I instantly go to my phone and it's like Google. Like I gotta find this.
All right. Well,
he has a need to know.
Oh yes, yes.
Constantly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and hang up with you, and I'm gonna go ahead and close out the show. I guess. Let's see if I can hit the right button. Hey, look at there. Hey, so the next show is Thursday night, and we're going to have Mark Milan, who's going to be hosting it, and we're going to find out real soon who's going to be the guest. We don't have that completely confirmed right now, but once we get that confirmed, I'll be sure and get that out to you guys so that you'll be able to look forward to dialing in. Be sure and hit the subscribe button and that notification button, and have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you so much. So I'm going to switch to this guy and hit this button and hit the... Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mickey.
Talk to you guys later.
Hope to see you soon.